So, Nintendo Switch 2 Direct was a couple of days ago, and while I did write most of my thoughts down in a script, I hadn't had a chance to record and edit a video due to time constraints mostly, which is a good thing because a few things happen in the world that I can update this and my ideas on and talk about. But what do I think about the Nintendo Switch 2? What did I hear that I think is really great, and what's bad about the Switch 2 that people should be angry about? Let's go through this. First, the good, the upgrades. I like the fact that this system has an onboard microphone to talk to people when I'm playing online, even if it's from the dock that's several feet away, and the Pro controllers will now have audio jacks that I can plug in a headphone. Considering that Nintendo was planning on using a cell phone app to talk to people on the original Switch, shows that they're definitely improving their online here. Don't know if I really want to get the camera though, but it is kind of nice and interesting to see how that works. But I wouldn't lie if I didn't find this new stuff interesting. Next are the Joy-Cons. Being able to use the Joy-Cons as a mouse does have some interesting possibilities, not only towards first-person shooters, but for those who prefer mouse and keyboard's way of aiming. But I wonder if we could be seeing things like actual RTS games, which are usually PC only, hit the Switch too with these kind of controls, and having magnets in the Joy-Con to keep them on is definite improvement over the Snap system, because although I don't really take my Switch out of the dock very often and I don't really use the Joy-Cons that often, my Joy-Cons still hold very well. But I know people who constantly go from portable mode to you playing with the Joy-Cons as actual controllers and just having the latches wear out on the Joy-Cons. So having the magnets, definite improvement. I also like that Nintendo is going to add some Switch 2 features to the original Switch games, and it's going to be more than just high definition packages. You are going to have to pay a little bit more for some of these upgrades, but the fact that you're going to be able to use like a cell phone app to help track things like Koroks and Shrine Location and Zelda, and there's going to be a few other packages like more mini games added to the latest Mario Party does make it interesting, and I'm kind of interested in seeing what the price is. As long as they don't charge an arm or leg for these upgrades, this might be actually pretty good. So I'm kind of excited about this. It's kind of a wait and see. Next, Gamecube Games added to the Switch Online. While I am bummed that the Wii U version of Wind Waker HD is going to be locked to the Wii U with its quality of life enhancements, still having the original Wind Waker, Soul Calibur 2, and F-Zero for the GameCube on Switch Online definitely has me excited. F-Zero for the GameCube is a true gem, and one I'm glad to see released on modern consoles. Other GameCube games could come, and if Nintendo could get some third party support, I wouldn't mind games like Beautiful Joe being on the Switch Online. Anyone remember that game? Anyone? Hinton a Go Go Baby? Am I the only one? Heh. One of the things I did like that I saw was you now only need one game pack if you're going to play with multiple friends on the Switch. So if you are playing a game where it's better off each having your own screen, you only need one game pack now, and I think that's good. Another small thing I like is that the games now load faster, which was a bit of a frustration with me on the original Switch, as some of the games I have take forever to load. My copy of Sonic Superstars takes 3 or 4 minutes to load. I don't know if there's something wrong with that card or something, but it does take freaking forever. And there are other examples of games that take about 30 seconds to a minute to load. So if we can get that down to like 10 to 20 seconds, that would be great, Nintendo. So I'm excited for that. Then the game support is pretty good. We get Switch 2 versions of Final Fantasy VII Remake, which does look good. Not super excited about that because I got it for PC, but I do know people who do want to try this one out, and having the best version out there can't hurt. That said, Bravely Default Flying Fairy was a game I missed out on the 3DS, so I can't wait to get it picked up on the Switch too. Mario Kart looks great, as does the new Donkey Kong, so I'm impressed so far with the offerings. And finally, the price of the system isn't as bad as I thought it would. I really don't know what everyone's complaining about when it comes to the price of the system itself. Not saying that there isn't some sticker shock I was feeling when it came to something else Nintendo talked about, but I'll get to that later in this video. But my thoughts are is if you want a device with a 1080p screen, right? You also want a device that does 4K and has HDR and is so powerful that the dock has to have a fan to keep it cool when gaming in TV mode. And if you want all that, I'm going to say it ain't going to be cheap. And also, for those of you who are complaining about the price of the original compared to this, I don't know if you're living in the same country I live in, but for the last 4 years, we dealt with something called Bidenomics and high inflation. With $300 for 2017, that's only $10 shy from being $400. That's how bad inflation has been the last couple of years. So basically, the Switch 2 is only $60 more than what the original Switch was. And now that we're done with Bidenomics, we're moving on to the Trump tariffs. And if you want my political hot takes, follow me on Twitter/X. I'll state them there, but I'm not going to state them here because that's not why you clicked on this video. But it's still cheaper than the PS5 and Xbox One X, so I'm not too sticker shocked by the console's price. As far as the price of the games, well, we'll get to that one later. Let's talk about some of the drawbacks and things I saw that I didn't like. Once again, the amount of memory that Nintendo is giving you for downloads and such really does suck. Only 250 gigabits of memory to save things. Now, I know what you're saying, that's over 8 times as much as the memory for the original Switch. Why are you angry, Tommy? Yeah, with 4K resolution with HDR comes an explosion in game file sizes. The 250 gigabits when it comes to Switch 2 games will go faster than the Switch's 32 gigabits, which means I'm going to have to go and buy another memory card, which, while isn't that expensive, unfortunately, I can't just swap my old memory card out of the original Switch and put it into this new one because the Switch 2 uses different memory cards. So, yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed that Nintendo didn't add in a full terabit of memory. Then we have the game key cards. And I had to do some research on the game key cards, and I kind of understand what Nintendo wants to do with these. For certain games that may not be able to be held on the card, or game developers who want to cut some corners so they can have them digital and also sell them physically, these may not be a bad middle ground. Basically, it goes like this. The key can be sold in stores, and you can also share and even sell your key. And when you insert the key into the Switch 2, it downloads the game onto your Switch, and you need the key in order to play it, kind of like you would if it was an actual physical game. Short term, not the worst idea ever, as it saves costs on the cartridge and memories for developers and publishers. Problem is, if this gets overused long term, those servers aren't going to be on forever, and 30 years from now, those key cards aren't even going to make suitable paperweights. So, if used properly, these key cards won't be the end of everything. But when has the game industry ever held back on doing too much of a bad idea? So, you see my concern here. And then finally, how much does Nintendo want for these games? You gotta be freaking kidding me. Okay, first off, let me say something that has me kind of pissed off. People keep on saying Mario Kart is going to be $90. That isn't true. From every source of pricing I've found, Mario Kart physical will only be $80 American, but that's still a high price in sticker shock for most people. And yes, going back to the inflation thing, those who want to say back in my day PS2 games are only $50, well, $50 back then is the new $90 according to the inflation calculators I used. But still, that's expensive compared to a lot of games. And while most game publishers don't put their games on discounts like they did back in the good old days, they either keep the games at full price and then discount them on sales like 90%. And if you don't believe me, look up Tales of Berseria on Steam, a game that's been out for 8 years till it's $50 to $60. But with digital distribution, you don't really have those bargain bins like you did back in the good old days. But here's the thing, like I said, those games like Tales of Berseria, it goes on sale at least once a month for $5. Nintendo, however, doesn't really run sales that often on their games, and when it does, it's like, we're having a big Mario sale. That 7-year-old Mario game will be discounted 10 whole dollars. Aren't we benevolent and generous? And with these prices, no schemes like game vouchers, and Nintendo constantly not wanting to put any of their games on sale, that means these games are going to stay that high a price for years, and I don't think it's a good idea for them. Again, the market will decide if Nintendo is right or wrong, and if they're wrong, they're going to have to make some changes in a hurry. All I can say is these better be good games, Nintendo. And I guess I can say you can at least loan out some of these expensive games too. So there is some good things to say, but I do hope Nintendo knows how much they're asking and understands the sticker shock, because the whole $90 rumor that just ran out of control just shows how far behind the messaging they really are. Hopefully things will happen that will deflate their egos a little bit. They'll get on with better messaging and maybe some price drops regularly. We'll just have to see, because oftentimes it takes Nintendo getting an ass kicking in the market for them to change things. Anyways, overall, I'm liking what I'm seeing with the Switch 2, the bigger screen, good games library, HD support, and still the easy switching from a portable game system to a home console gaming is something I like. However, the pricing of the games, that's a major blow, and I can understand some people's anger over this. Complaining about the cost of the console when you compare the hardware that goes into it, not really, but when you consider the game prices, that I think is a rightful free-for-all, just as long as you understand the truth is it's an $80 for a physical and not a 90, but still that's enough to get pissed off. If you don't like $80 games, I hate to be the guy, but my suggestion is hold off on the Switch 2 and continue buying cheaper games elsewhere until Nintendo lowers the price. Anyways, let me know what you guys thought about the Nintendo Switch 2 and leave a like and subscribe.